Okay, welcome to the Way of the Empath. In extension of the last video, and I'm thinking that there might be a reason for this because there's something to do with my phone. Okay, but it's okay. Okay, I'm just going to go on with what I was saying in my last video about sexuality and an empath. So, as an empath, we have extremely potent sexuality, and we choose to be celibate. We choose to just not have sex with random people, or even it's very difficult to find someone to match us in sexual potency, in candor, in openness, in wildness, in freakishness, in unabashed, in shamelessness, in deep awareness and connection with our bodies. I mean, it's just so hard to match that. So because of that, we really, it's easier to just feel that potent sexual energy within ourselves and use it, to channel it, to heal, to offer healing power, to help others. Now, but the thing that's really important to say about all this is that the situation with regards to all of the issues in sexuality, that people seem to want to share that with someone else because maybe they look good, maybe there's some energetics, but I want to bring all of your attention to something that's more important about sexuality, okay? About that wild, erotic energy, okay? Now, if any of you have taken plant medicine, like say ecstasy or maybe mushrooms or something, where you had an experience where you felt your sexual energy, you felt what that felt like, and you didn't manifest it in any way other than you were feeling it. You had a feeling. And it was like, I'm thinking of when I took mushrooms, I think the first time. Actually, I took them once in New York, and it was a horrible experience because they were like old or something. But then I took them with my lover, who actually grew mushrooms illegally at the time. And I felt a tremendous sexual energy right next to him, but then like we didn't do anything. So it was like you could feel the energy, but there was no experience of the body manifesting that energy at all. Okay, so that's something that we have to acknowledge, that it's there, and it's really the energy. And so later on, this lover of mine, when we were away from each other, because he's my twin flame, that we were able to have a sexual connection away from each other, even like different countries. Like we would be across the world from each other and we could merge sexually, energetically. And it was just like I'd have an orgasm in my body without having actual sex with him. Now, the only reason I'm bringing that up is I know that people that I have told this to have tried to have that with me, and they were so like a dud. They were such a dud. Like the energy that they were trying to do, and I get it, you know, they're trying, but I never gave them permission. That's the main reason, okay? I never gave them permission to get involved. But I'm driving right now, and I'm getting a little bit irritated by the energies of people around me. So I notice I need to kind of park away from people right now because I'm feeling their energy, and people are really agitated. And that's affecting my, this is what it is to be an empath. Like we feel everything. Like even I can take my hand and block energy out from someone that's putting towards me. And it's like, most people have this agitation. They have a contraction at the base of the spine. So what I experience is a tremendous amount of jealousy from people from me, because I don't have that. I don't have that contraction at the base of my spine. And the other thing is that I have a really deep connection with my sexuality, like down to the core. And because of that, anywhere I go or anywhere I work or any environment I'm in, I attract men, often married men, who are incredibly attracted to me. And they will park their car next to my car. They will hang out in their car if I'm in my car while they're outside of the building, just so they can hang out and be in my energy. They will really enjoy being in their office if, say, their office is next door to mine, because even though, like, I'm not physically there in their office with them, they love my energy. They just love it. And their wives hate me for it. Like, they just hate me. And they're so jealous. And it's not just my energy, though, because I'm very, very physically beautiful, very physically attractive, like having a perfect body, having a beautiful, beautiful face, the shape of my jaw, everything. Like it's gorgeous. I've been told I'm gorgeous. Now, does that mean anything to me as an empath? No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean a darn thing. It doesn't mean a darn thing. I don't care. I really don't. I do take care of myself, but I don't go out and get massage and regularly go to spas, and I don't get my hair colored, and I don't wear makeup most of the time, and I barely have time to clip my fingernails and toenails, and I have to keep them short for the body work and the healing I do. But like, I'm not out there trying to find ways to make myself more attractive. I want to take care of myself better. I would like to have the time to do that. I would love to be able to have a massage from time to time, but I notice that I'm so particular. It's so hard to find someone, like, for example, to do like a massage trade, or even I'm willing to pay them, because they're just not very good at what they do. And I know that if I share what it is I do with someone who's more mediocre, it's going to be really, I've tried it many times. It's very frustrating. And I feel like I'm being ripped off, basically. And that's because I'm not connecting with people. It's very rare to find people that there's some kind of a match with me. And so most of the time, it's a very unfair exchange of energy that I'm experiencing, where I mostly just want to get away from people. I'll take sessions, and that's kind of like the best I feel like I can handle, is like I'm taking someone in for a massage session, and most of the time, you know, they should be paying twice as much for my massage, but I give some discount. They don't realize, I think either people don't realize, or they're just very, very greedy and they don't want to pay me the amount. There are some people who will, but overall, once I'm doing my healing work, right now I'm kind of in a little bit of a lapse because I'm having to move, and I have to move a lot because there's so much jealousy from people around me regularly. And this happens as a true empath. That's exactly what it is to be a true empath. You've got to move around. You have people after you. You have people jealous of you. You have men, like I have men constantly following me, like stalking me. Like if they find out where I am, if they find out where I live, if they find out anything about me, they just stalk me. And I'm not saying all men, like the men that are married and have kids and stuff like that, they are like, usually, like there's a deep hidden attraction for me, and they want to see me, and they fantasize about me being like their mistress. You know, their mistress means master, like female master, and they imagine like having sex with me and stuff like that, and I don't like it. I mean, most of the time what I do is because I'm not willing, I don't want to do those things with those guys, and I don't want them to do that, and I don't share my body that way, and I definitely do not wear clothing. I mean, yes, I'm a yoga teacher, so I wear, tight clothing, but they're yoga clothes, you know, and I'm not showing off my rear end. I'm not showing off my waist. It just shows through my clothes. So I'm covering my rear end most of the time. I'm covering, I just, because my body is slender and I have like a lot of guys who are attracted to me that way, it just shows through whatever I'm wearing. Even when I was wearing robes, men were always attracted to me. And so, yeah, so that creates jealousy from the side of the women. And an empath is like a goddess, okay? We have the strong feminine traits, and then we also have the strong masculine traits in ourselves. And so because of that, we end up having men be attracted to us in a certain way, and women attracted to us in a certain way. But men are also jealous of us in a certain way. Like I find men are jealous of me because they're like, oh, she has so much joy. She has so much joy in her heart. Like she just has it no matter what, no matter how much I'm mean to her. Especially men who are stalking me, or like they want me, but they think the way to get me is to like lower my energy and to try to attack me and stuff. Those men, they will usually, what will happen is they will have this like a vendetta against me. I've had to move cities and even states and countries at times just to get away from certain men who have followed me, literally followed me all around the world. I have had that kind of stalking going on. So it's very difficult because most of the time, I mean, not only am I hot, right? Like hot, like fire sign, like Queen of Wands hot, I'm also just like, high priestess, cool, and then empress, gorgeous and beautiful and abundant as well, and but the other difficult thing is, so, and I'd say difficult just in a sense of like the material world. Okay, so when I go to a community, when I go to wherever it is I settle in for a little while, I immediately start to bring the Empress energy in me, which is the empath. It's all connected. It starts to draw all of these things up. Like everything starts. Well, not only do people like have to face stuff and negativity, but the land starts to flourish. Things start to bloom. Everything becomes fecund and beautiful. There's this verdant green, and it's like, even though, like, because I'm having to constantly work on clearing the weather and making the weather beautiful. Like, what I mean by that is, like, because the weather is really affected by human emotion, that a lot of the time, especially in the darker seasons, I have to work very hard. I basically don't eat all winter long. I mean, maybe once or twice I'll have something. I mean, seriously, in 3 months, like maybe one something every month. And besides that, I basically don't eat, but I'll drink. And what I'm doing is I'm keeping the energy somewhat balanced, even though it's very hard, because people are really, really bad. Like, they are dirty and they're doing really bad things around any neighborhood I am. I mean, the neighborhood I'm at most of the time around in California, different areas of California, on the West Coast, not up in Oregon, because Oregon is really bad. It's probably the better areas. People are a little more awake and a little more aware, and they're into kind of like the tantra, or they're somewhat, I mean, I shouldn't even say tantra because people don't get that, but they're more interested in things like that. They're more interested in transformation. It's more so that way. But what I notice is that because it's hard to be on Earth as an empath. It's difficult to be around people because no one brings me positive energy. Like, no one does. What happens is, in any interaction with me, is I bring positive, I bring healing, I bring goddess energy, creative energy, pure creative energy, golden earth energy, gold, and it's poured into them. And then it draws up some impurities, and they have to heal that. And usually, eventually they will. And it's almost like I'm sort of investing in them by doing that. But it's really just because I'm here in body why that happens. As long as there's some association with them, there's some kind of like that's being given. And they're being able to grow and to become more, have a better life because of me. Just like the whole area benefits from my presence there. And I'm saying this is one of the reasons I also don't like put out a lot online, because I mean, I don't show my face, I don't show what I'm doing. I want to tell you guys more about it, but if I started to show you, I mean, there may be a point I'll feel safe enough, maybe when I have enough subscribers or I have enough financial like backing, and I feel like that because even though I've been very rich before and it didn't really help me, it kind of helped me because I could move around a lot more in some ways, but it's still like, no matter what, as long as human beings are here and they're messed up, because they are, they're emotionally and mentally, and they've got addictions, and it's people are wounded. Okay, let's just say that there's always going to be some challenge of being here as an empath. Like, even in the most remote area, there's people. They're everywhere. Like, they're everywhere. They're in every beautiful spot that there is on the planet. There's somebody and someone to contend with, and that's a major problem for wildlife and for the natural world. It's a major problem. I mean, it's like a full infestation of a cancer that just spread like a metastasized tumor and just spread to every single area of the body of Earth. And it's at that point where if that it's possible that we will annihilate, that human beings will annihilate. I'm using the word human beings, but it's more like a parasite. It's more like a cancer, and I know that you guys are going to hate me for saying that, but that is how the human being operates at this time. Take, not giving anything back to the earth to the level that it takes for the earth mother to be able to renew herself. And it's like everywhere. This cancer is everywhere. And this cancer comes from the way that we eat. It does. It comes from the way we eat. It's why the disease of cancer, you know, it's a sign also in astrology. It's the sign of the emotional body, the moon. And this is the one card that even in the tarot, like, it doesn't have a positive meaning unless it was someone who really interpreted it properly. And I think even what do I call it? The Mother Piece Tarot, which is the circle round tarot, which is more like feminine. And there's a lot of tarot out there. And it's always coming out more tarot decks. But even the tarot, I have not seen a tarot deck, and there should be out there. There must be. Really honoring the moon. And that's a problem. That's like the major underlying issue around sexuality, around romance, around the emotional body, and how this is very connected. The second chakra is the emotional body, okay? That is the center of the sexuality. For men and women, it's where the G-spot lies, okay? The pleasure center, that main pleasure center, second chakra, Svadhisthana, is the pleasure center, okay? So it's also the sense of taste, the sense of flavor. It's the saliva. It's the enzymes in the body that give this life. It's vital energy, okay? It's vitality. It's the essence or the Jing in the Chinese medical model. And so it's really, really, really key to understanding the sexuality. And so, like I said, as an empath, I exude this very strong sexual energy. And it comes and goes. Like, I mean, I'm channeling it to people all the time because I'm embodying that. But in key moments, it's like there's a point where, like, when I meet a man and we're sitting in the same vicinity, in the same room together, and like he hasn't met me before, and his sexuality just opens up around me, like it like kind of almost explodes inside of him, and he's very affected by that, and I feel it because I'm an empath, so I feel him getting turned on, just like the man who walks up the steps into the building and he sees me and he sees my body and my curves and the way I move and my grace and my beauty, and he's very turned on. And in that place of him being turned on, I'm turned on by him being turned on. And I love that. And that's like, I don't need anything more than that. And a lot of the time the men that do that, they're married. And unfortunately that makes their wife angry. And I'm not doing anything beyond that. I'm absorbing that. I'm absorbing his praise of me, his like, wow, what a goddess. Oh my God, she's just amazing. And I can hear his thoughts and I can feel all that, and I just absorb it, and I'm like, thank you, like, and I smile and I appreciate that. But I don't go after him. I don't, like, even though many of these men have offered me, oh yeah, you can come into my office anytime. And I know that they wish that, even especially before I leave, before I go somewhere else, that, you know, on to the next place, that he's going to get me passionately making love with him. And the thing is that just can't happen, because it's violating the karmic contract between him and his wife. And that's very hard. It's very hard for women to say no to that. And, you know, I will tell you why it is. Women who are not high priestesses have a hard time with this, okay? But for me, like, that's what makes me the high priestess. This is why there's so many women who, and in this area too, where I am right now, they are sexual and they're beautiful. A lot of them are really beautiful and sexual, but it's not the same as my energy. Like, it's just not the potency, it's not the level. And it's because they don't live to these high standards that I have. They just don't. They can't, because they were not designed in this life for that. They could certainly try. And I'm not saying that there would ever be a time they wouldn't. I mean, it's always a possibility. But the desire has to be there. And the desire, and not only just the desire, but the world around you starts to really force you to be that, okay? An empath, the world is constantly testing us. You know, when people who are not very enlightened and not very spiritual, they love to say stuff like, oh, the Buddha would never do that. It's like, dude, the Buddha faced demons on a regular basis. Like, people were constantly mean to the Buddha. You really think the Buddha was just like, oh yeah, you peace and love, and you guys, it's all good, and everybody's like, yes, you're the Buddha, so we're going to treat you all super nice and loving? No, 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 not at all. People were super mean to the Buddha. People were super, super mean to the Buddha. The Buddha had to handle lots of cruel people. And anyone who's not being triggered, who thinks that there's some kind of spiritual teacher, some kind of master, or that they're not having people, and I shouldn't say being triggered, because that's not what it is. That's actually the wrong term. If people think that when you're enlightened, you're not going to have challenges, that's an absolute lie. It's the exact opposite of that. It's the exact opposite. It's the exact opposite of that, because the more energy we have, the more potency we have, the more that people want to take that from us. The more that we trigger their insecurities, the more that that energy, that potent energy of ours, trigger everyone on every level. From the level of men being like freaking almost orgasming in front of us, to men crying in our laps in a heap of tears because they have never met the goddess before in human form. They've never. And yet, no one gets to see the real goddess in me. I mean, there were a couple people, there are a few people, a handful of people in my life that I was able to truly be myself. Because even talking right now, that's not my voice. Like, I know I'm speaking right now, and a lot of it has to do with the collective energy right now. But my voice is much, much deeper. Much deeper. I'm reminded of when I was in New York City and we had danced all night, and he was a gay friend of mine, and he was in the taxi cab. And he was laying in my lap with his head in my lap, looking up at me. And it was so deep, and I spoke to him like the mother. And I said, you're going to be okay. In this deep, deep, deep voice, down deep inside of my soul. And also when I was in high school, when my friends were taking LSD, we all took LSD, but it didn't do anything to me. And anytime I ever took any drug, because I've tried cocaine once, crack once, I know it was horrible, but I tried it. Marijuana, of course, mushrooms, ecstasy, what else? A couple things during my 20s, after college, because I was such a prude, but I always became more spiritual. Like, even on crack, I was like the ultra spiritual guru goddess, turning this gang of, blacks in North Portland into to give up the drugs. So when I was on LSD with my friend Tara, she was this gorgeous. Oh my God, she was such a gorgeous. She was physically gorgeous. She wasn't the goddess in that way, but she was beautiful. And her friends, and everyone was drawing, and they said, "Don't you feel it?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean, the grass looks a little greener outside, but nothing." And all I was just the same, but more spiritual. And it was like, when I say spiritual, a lot of people say, "Oh, you're spiritual," and they say it like it's an insult or something. Like, they don't get it. Like, that's the jealousy talking. "Oh, you're so spiritual." They don't get it, that like that is the sexual potency, is the spirit. Like, the ultimate sexual potency is spirit itself. So I have this deep, deep, deep relationship with the Creator. The Creator is my divine sexual partner. I have a twin flame, and my twin flame and I have had many sexual adventures without being physically together. My twin flame is an avatar, and I'm not going to say who he is, otherwise you'll all go crazy, but he's basically the most famous avatar of all. And I have spent actual physical time with him, and he helped me to heal, and I helped him to heal. And we do meet a couple times in a lifetime. Sometimes we stay longer together. being an empath, so I mean, before I finish that, I want to say about the twin flame thing. So people use twin flame. I mean, I want to make it accessible to everyone. Everyone has an inner master, inner mistress. Like everyone has a master within them. But it takes work to take that seed and grow it into a full-blown master. It doesn't just come because you want it to. You can cultivate desire, and desire is key. And that leads back to the Esther Perel podcast I was listening to just recently, or just a few hours ago or something, is that she was saying, and I've listened to her a lot, and I agree on some things with her, and I know why she's so popular, because this is more popular what she's saying. It's not, what I'm saying isn't popular because it takes a lot of work, and it's not, the masses don't feel like it's out of reach. And that's the reason people throw around that term like twin flame, because they want it to, they talk in one side of their mouth, they say, oh yes, and this twin flame, and he's out cheating on her and sleeping around with the other women, and he's stuck as this toxic masculine, but he's her twin flame. Now, underlying in every soul, there is the twin flame, meaning that every one of us has a divine partner that, like a sprout that sprouts from the ground as one soul and comes up into two shoots as two souls, as male and female, is like the twin flame. But most people don't even sprout. Okay, so they haven't even sprouted from that seed. They're living underground of the unconscious. And the unconscious has to be transmuted fully in order for the twin flames to find each other in the world and to manifest that kind of magic. So there's no point in saying, I mean, if they were to say it the way I just said it, it would make more sense than just throwing around the word like twin flame as if they're twin flames like hanging out, making the world a better place, because that's just not the case. When you truly are a twin flame with someone else, you're both mastered and you're healing the world. And that's what it is to be twin flames. Like you have mastered yourselves and you're working together to heal the world. It's not that you're both in darkness and in the dark night of the soul and not doing shadow work, or even doing shadow work and cheating and stealing and all of the negative things that come from from a karmic soul and karmic soul ties and karmic connections. None of that is helpful. It's not until a soul reaches the level of dharma beyond karma, which means that they give their life to the dharma. So instead of putting the dharma in their life, they put their life in the dharma. They make their life about their purpose. And you can still make money living your life purpose. Absolutely. You can still become successful. But you have to put your life in the dharma to be not incurring karma. And as an empath, I trigger people all over the place. Like I mentioned in some of my subsequent messages, people get triggered. Even people in the alternative health industry that I work in. I mean, I will rent an office from someone just for the day or something, and they just go crazy. They just flip out on me or something. Or they say they're going to do something, and then the next minute they turn on me. Or, and I've done nothing wrong, and they know that I've done nothing wrong. It's just they're triggered. They've got something up their butt that like got hit somehow energetically, and they can't handle it. And a lot of the time what they do is they do something about diet. Like, this is why I say diet's so important. They like shove it down. The kundalini starts to awaken around me, and they shove it down. They eat something unhealthy. They put something heavy into their body to try to block that kundalini instead of letting it arise and letting themselves heal and letting themselves be more successful in life. And so they fight it, and then their jealousy, all of the things, like within a very short time, I trigger people like this. And so it's difficult to make arrangements, because even things like me renting an office or leasing an office or several offices or location, Like, I'm dealing with like everyone having these problems. Like, they will decide not to rent to me because I've just triggered them. I mean, it's like that. Okay. So, but I'm not open to, the world is not made anymore for people to just go and walk around aimlessly with robes and like help people. It's just not that way anymore. You've got to use internet, you have to advertise, you have to market. But the truth of the matter is that there are very few people, like Esther Perel's not doing that to her audience. They're not, her audience isn't all their Kundalini awakening. And the thing is that I'm not someone who anyone has thrown out there into the world and been like, oh my God, she's so. I mean, there have been moments where I was offered that, okay, by a very famous Indian guy who wanted me to run an entire village in San Francisco, a man in New York City who was a famous photographer to Guru Mai, who was taking photos and making me, was in the process of putting me out there for these big public meetings. I have always run away from those things. Now, I know now why that is, and I've been grappling with that my entire life. The reason is because there's always a trade-off, okay? Yes, you can go out there and become famous and do all that, but if you are a true empath, a true guru, you're going to have to deal with the negativity and the fallout of having a lot of people obsess over you and worship you in bad ways. Worship means to try to like emulate someone. A true worship would be like, I want to be like that, so I'm going to cultivate this. Unhealthy worship is, I'm going to steal as much energy as I can from this person so I never have to do the work. And like people like Elizabeth Clare Prophet, who I wouldn't say she's an empath, but she definitely is sensitive to energy. I don't know if she's alive anymore, but she had like 1,000 people who were doing energy work and praying for her to protect her from these black magicians who she was fighting energetically as well as her whole group. And at one point, they just kind of gave up and she almost died because she got so sick. So the big fallacy that many people say, and I've said this in my videos before, but I'm going to continue to emphasize it. The big fallacy is the big lie that I hear all the time from fake practitioners is that you can become so spiritually protected that people can't hurt you energetically or otherwise. They just can't hurt you. That's absolutely untrue. As long as we have a human body, which is made primarily of water, which is an open-ended atom, which is what an empath is someone who is pure water, clear water, that dis-ease can embed itself into that water, and it's why we have to cleanse. It's why Kali, goddess Kali, okay, Kali Ma, Maha Kali, Kalika, okay, why she cleanses, why there is tapas, why there is the austerities, tapasya in yoga. You have to clear your, she is taking on darkness of the world. She has to transmute it. You think she transmuted by going out and eating hot dogs with you guys? Hanging out with her friends and freaking partying? No. No, no, and no. She transmutes the energy by fasting, cleansing, doing the different forms of cleansing she can do for her body. And the more people who are after that in her, the more she's going to have to deal with that. Because not everybody is going to choose to do that clearing. And the people that, once I absorb some darkness from someone and I've cleared it out, I've transmuted it. Cleared it out means it like leaves my body. It goes back to them. And then they're forced, karmically, karma means action, they're forced to deal with that karma. It doesn't mean that I have a karmic relationship with them. It means that my dharma is to connect with, at my own discernment, through my own discrimination with me and God, of whether I'm going to help them or not. And if they're not doing the work, God tears me away from them. And one of the reasons I'm traveling a lot and going from here to there and I disappear is because of that. Because people obsess with me. People fantasize about me. Women hate me. Not all, but even my healing work, when I start to talk about what I'm doing, and so there's a bigger picture, and I want to get to that in a minute, but like I'm managing giant soul groups of people, like I'm managing whole cities and whole like communities, and so it on a material realm it may look like I'm not doing that much. Oh, I have a little office here, a little office there, I have a place here, I have. That doesn't mean diddly squat about what the reach of my energy is. And that's why I'm so confident. It's why that no matter how these materialistic fake spiritualists think that somehow, oh yeah, but your business is so small, like you're not helping anybody. Or when I start talking about things that everybody's adopting because they're literally stealing my IP, they're stealing my ideas, they're listening to these videos and they're listening to all my other posts. There's a number of them, and they're under lots of different aliases because if it was all under one name, I think I would probably have the whole world would have murdered me by now. Okay, because they wouldn't want to give me credit for it. And so I have a lot of different channels and aliases, meaning like that's the way that Christ works in the world. That's the way the light works in the world. That's the way Shiva works in the world. That's the way Kali works in the world. That's the way all of the masters work, because even though those things seem even like a lot, what's more infinite is how I embed myself into people's dreams. And I don't do this consciously. Again, this is not an ego thing. This is my many manifestations, around 144,000 manifestations of my image onto the reality of someone's dream, to imprint on them, to help them to take a better path in life, to absorb the good things in life, to heal their bodies, to step into their life purpose. And it's why I fast, especially around the new moon. These are things that other people are not doing. Okay, this is why it's so important to clarify what it truly is to be an empath. It's not small, you know, it's not a small thing, guys, okay? It takes a lot. Like, I'm always fasting, pretty much like always. Like, I'm basically a breatharian. And when I eat, it's necessary. Like, that's just one thing, okay? And as I mentioned, I'm celibate and I've been for many years. And when I had a relationship, that was some years ago, 5 years ago. So I've been celibate for like 5 years now. And then I had a relationship where there was sex. I mean, I totally allowed this lovemaking with this younger guy who was very, very much in love with me. And I loved him as well. But I didn't love him the way that he loved me. And that was because of who I am and why it is I even engage that way, if I ever do. And that was to show him how to love. So if I engage with a man, he's ready to learn. He has enough humility. He's ready to come with me, to follow me, and to really love. And that's something that, like, to learn love. And there are very few guys out there that are open like that. It takes a special kind of guy. And I'm not even saying this guy's special. I would say that, yes, he's special in the sense that if his family stopped putting their energy on him and he had truly liberated himself from being so affected by them, because he's a Pisces, he's a very precious being. And I truly, truly love that one. I truly love him and he truly loves me. And that's something very real. And so despite the fact his father would come into his body and attack me, his mother would come into his body and attack me, his grandmother, I mean, he had people in his family just going into his body and like attacking me. And they were all jealous. They didn't want us to be together. When we were together in the beginning, no one knew. It was profound. We had so much beauty. We would literally fall in each other's arms and sleep all tangled up into each other, and we would wake up like that, and we were just one. We had so much deep love in the beginning, and we had deep love throughout, but it was always, spotted by all this stuff, drama from his family. And I didn't bring drama from my family. Like, his family brought drama, like a lot of it. And they haven't really healed it yet. So I set him loose. It was very hard to do, but I did. I cut him loose because I knew that he had relied too much on me, and that he needed to learn how to stand on his own against them. That I was fighting battles for him, and I needed to let him be free. I still love him very much. The true one, not the one that all of them are like projecting through, not the ego, but the one who would go to the farmer's market with me and make raw living foods and like make amazing love making. Because we did. We didn't have like a ton of great love making because he had issues. He was a porn addict. And so the thing is that even though he was a porn addict, like the person who he is underneath all that was very prevalent around me. That's something I'm able to do as an empath, is I'm able to lift the burden off of a person long enough that they're able to be themselves around me. And that's when I can engage, if I'm going to engage romantically. But I don't do it very often. And this is why I mentioned earlier that it's more important for there to be a very strong, my erotic and my sexual potency, for it to be for healing. So just notice, you guys, how I sounded in the beginning of this video and how I sounded also in the last one. I'm going to upload both of these tonight. After I leave this area where there's no signal, I'm in a very, 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 in a place where there's no humans right now. That's how problematic humans are. Okay, the human animal. I'm with all other animals. Right now out here, there are animals nesting under the ground with their little babies. Animals nesting in their little trees with their little babies and family. I've got my precious little ones nesting back here. There's all kinds of little creatures out there in the woods where I am right now. And they're snuggled in with their little families. And human animals don't even think about that. They're not out here in this parking lot, in the woods here, feeling all that, because they've got to talk to this person or that person, and they got to gab even though they should be silent. They've got their cars they got to get into. They just walkie-talkied all around, walking and talking, blah, 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 in this beautiful, precious place. And the animals, there we go. I'll have the window down. They're all so deeply connected. This is why all non-human animals